Today we're going to be talking about Facebook. So Jeff's got some great secrets on Facebook, and I'm just going to kind of follow along with what he's saying. And if you want me to showcase the back end of Facebook, I can do that. But I can't really showcase the back end of Command. So that's up to you, buddy. That's up to you.
Nobody can show the back end.
There you go.
So really, one of the things that I think, let me ask you this question. Your name's not AJ, so you might
oh, damn it.
that.
My name's AJ still? Hold on. Tristan.
So Tristan, if I were to say, hey, you're wanting to create a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
Okay. To, attract a seller, but you don't know what to say, don't know what's the first thing when creating any sort of advertising. What is the number one thing you got to know whenever you're advertising to a group of people?
Well,
what would you say? Or maybe we could ask people, what are like the top 3 things you should know when advertising to people?
Dude, that's a solid question. Yesterday I got to talk to D-Rock, the guy that shoots everything.
Yeah, for Gary V.
Yeah. So we talk every 2 weeks. So we sat down.
Look at you, just like name dropping subtly.
Well, I want to just show you how important. Hold on, I dropped a few names. Hold on, let me pick them up.
Right. First, you never leave Malibu, and number 2, I'm just gonna start calling you Hollywood. Whatever, dude.
You can do that.
Whatever.
real estate Hollywood. And I took so many notes yesterday. He was on fire. And the one thing that stood out, it pertains to your question, is he said, this is what Gary V does when he shoots the videos, or he shoots whatever content. He goes ahead and then reshoots the intro for that, and is very specific now and says, hey buyers, or now he goes, hey sellers. And to be even more specific, he sometimes breaks it down into cities because we can do that in certain areas. Hey Los Angeles, right? And if you have expansion teams, if you're marketing outside, hey New York, hey Miami, right now all of a sudden that message is being listened to a lot more if you're targeting very specific people, demographics, areas. And I thought that was brilliant. I'm like, he shoots like 15 intros for one video and then goes to the back end of Facebook and then retargets them to where he's going to target them. And I thought, okay, that is something that I hadn't been doing, and that could definitely work better for our Facebook lead ads, right? Especially
100%.
If at the top it says, hey Los Angeles, and then it says your message for homes. Are you looking for the home value of LA? It's insane right now, right? And now it's talking to me. So the very first thing I would say is identify who that target area is, the target people, and then start crafting that message.
Yeah. So I think, to me, if there's a secret, I wouldn't necessarily call it a secret to Facebook advertising with Command, or really Facebook advertising in general. To me, the secret it shouldn't be a secret. I think it's more of an oversight. So the biggest oversight in us as real estate agents who are supposed to be marketers, right? So we're marketers and negotiators and counselors and, kind of all those different things, right?
Yep.
I think the number one area we fall short is we know our market in the sense of, things are selling quickly, things are, price point, we understand that. But do we really understand who the actual buyer is and who the actual seller is? And NAR does this homework for us. And so I wanted to kind of really look at this. And to me, this is what I would say would be the secret sauce, if you will, to this is, I want to know who are the home sellers, right? Because home buyers is 100% of the pie. Okay, so if home buyers, we got 100% of the pie of half of all transactions. All right, so if I have of that home buyer pie, what for the last 3 years, and in the 29 report, It kind of goes in a little bit more historical data.
I
But
love
if you
that.
scroll through this whole thing here, um, there's some really interesting data points in here. But what this will show you, I think it's maybe a little bit higher here. And I'll give you the links to these PDFs. They're on NAR, so you don't have to dig too far. But right here, look. So in 2019, 2018, 2017, basically since after the crash. So after the crash, first-time home buyers was basically mid to low 30 percentile. So people buying homes, 1/3 of one side of the transaction was first-time home buyers. Okay.
Whoa.
So if I'm looking for sellers leads, then that means I want 100% of the seller pie, right? So 100% of the seller pie is kind of what I want. Then if I'm trying to find home sellers, if 75% roughly, or no, sorry, 60 to 65% of home buyers, based on 33% being, first-time home buyers, that means that the other 60, 65% are people who already own a home.
Dude, this is
See,
really
so
good.
this is where the messaging, I think, really comes into play. So if you're a homeowner, right? And I'm a homeowner. As a homeowner, I get an email about once a month, whether I like it or not, from Zillow. Or if I go onto Zillow and look, it shows me my homeowner dashboard. It shows me those different things. It's extremely difficult for us agents to kind of compete with that when somebody's already got something on their phone. They got that. So whether we like it or not, there's a lot of tech companies that are vying for that eyeball space.
Yep.
So they already kind of have a general idea of what their home is worth. And all of us kind of run like, what's your home value worth and all those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Well, even though I know, okay, my home is worth, $575, that's okay. That doesn't really motivate me. Does motivating me to move is it more about what the value of my home is, or is it more about where I want to go to next?
Yeah, it's definitely where you want to go to next.
Right. So I really don't think that the bait is necessarily what's your home worth. Now, there is some of that's there. And I'm not saying that running those type of ads aren't effective, because they do. That will start the kind of conversation. But if you really want to dig in and find some of the highest motivated seller leads, then I'm really going to need to focus on the other 60, 65% of that pie that is not the first-time home buyer.
All right.
And so when you start to dig into some of these statistics, what's very interesting is, like, I've always thought, move up, move down buyer, those kind of things. When you really dig into the psyche of the home seller and who also is the home buyer, when you start to dig into the 2020 and the 2021 reports, what we're really seeing is people moving up or people moving into single stories. So people who are buying bigger homes. So, because of quarantine and all that, we were like, well, if I'm gonna live here, it's not so much that I'm only sleeping there anymore. So I actually care more about the space that I'm purchasing. So I want something bigger, or I want something with a pool, or I want some of those different kinds of things, right? Yeah. So my point in all of this, and I'll put the 2021 here, so it's the most recent. I'll put this in the chat, and you can put this into the Facebook group here,
dude.
So really kind of look at this, and it breaks down to, now obviously we can't on Facebook, but also just as realtors, we can't be targeting people based on race or any of that kind of stuff. But some of the data points that really struck me was the veteran group. So one of the ones inside the veteran group, you can see our VA numbers are going way down. And when I stopped and I really started thinking about, the veteran homeowner or the veteran home buyer, we're really saying is this is my parents, and all these guys are VA. This is Vietnam War. So a
Okay.
lot of this is Vietnam, so we've had a smaller military, stuff like that. So we see some of the VA stuff kind of going down. And then also when you look at prior living arrangement, so in these different age groups, where did they prior live? Owned a previous home. This age group right here this is our move up sort of group, that 41. So these guys, this group are mostly buying their first home. And so then these are probably most of us on this call are probably in this group where we've either owned a home previously or we currently own one now. So this is the big, huge pool of people that we're looking. So when I'm trying to market to people who are most people who are owning homes and looking for a change, this age group here, what would you say is probably the biggest priority for the age group of 65 and over? If they're selling their home and buying a new one, what do you think is probably maybe the number one thing they're looking for in a home?
Single story.
Yeah,
And
right. 100%. Like I'm 41, gonna be 42. Crud. We have a 2-story, and I hate going up and down the stairs. Master's upstairs, all that. Exercise, whatever. So like, I would love to have a single. There's not a ton of them. But if you wanted to try to get my attention, you show me a single story that's got a nice open floor plan with a pool, I'm seriously thinking about making a change, especially if the numbers work. Right. And so my whole point in all of this is look into these numbers to help craft your message. And so now we can now that we know this information, before we even go to our command site, what I'm going to do is go to my consumer-facing KW site. So I've got my subdomain, kw.com, and I'm looking at here, okay?
Okay.
So first thing I'm going to do, oh wait, there's one more thing in here, and I saw it in the 2020, and I wanted to see if, where it says in here, location of home purchased. So here's kind of saying suburban, but there is this is it. This is the one I'm looking for. Exhibit 2.6. Distance between home purchased and previous residence. This is a big one.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. Facebook, what is the radius, the smallest radius that you can do?
15 miles.
Right. And what is the biggest pushback I get from a lot of our agents is, well, I don't want 15 miles. That's too big. Do you know LA? LA there could be 20 towns in that 15-mile radius. And I agree. And so some say, well, I only work in this particular little niche. And that's great. You can do that. But look at the big pool of people. You've got these huge groups of people, and all buyers average out to the 15-mile radius.
Dude,
so I wouldn't worry about the radius too much. And especially when you're getting into the older group of people. Now, why do you think the older group of people are generally averaging 35 miles away from where they previously owned a home?
my first guess without looking at the stats would be that they're either going with their children or they're moving outside of a major city because they're retiring.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with number one. I think number two is a great educated guess, because most of the people that I've worked with, and so this isn't a scientific poll, but this is just educated guess here. In the people that I know that are in this age group, this demographic, are moving. They're selling their home because kids moved off to college. They've now set a base somewhere else. And especially with COVID and wanting to, who wants to fly 5 hours with a face mask, or those kind of things. So we're seeing a lot more movement in this. This mileage actually has gone up from 2020. So if you look at the stats and you look at the tables, this older group, grandma and grandpa are wanting to live closer to their grandkids. So in my messaging, that's what it's all about. So I can't target based on age groups. I can't target based on that, but I could put inside the ad things, saying, okay, hey, would you like to buy a single story house in, let's just give Pam all the credit here, in Glendale, right? So you want to buy a single story house in Glendale, close to shopping, close to hospitals, things that are probably the most desired locations for this group of people. Okay. Now, when I live close to like when we were helping my father-in-law relocate, his biggest thing was he wanted to be close to, the doctor, close to the grandkids, close to, those main sort of key points. He didn't want to have to, because you get older and you don't want to drive too far to things. You don't want to, all that sort of stuff. I want to be able to just kind of go around the corner and to the drugstore, get my things, go to grocery store, those kinds of things. So your messaging in your ad needs to really target these different groups of people. So when I'm trying to target, I'm trying to say, hey, thinking about selling your 2-story home and buying a single-story home, I may actually increase my radius from 15 miles to 30, 40 miles. Would you take a listing 40 miles away from you?
Yes.
100%, right?
No, it's not too far, especially. No. So hold on that, because you bring up a good point. Before you start creating ads, you do this research and you start understanding how you're talking to your audience. There are a few things. Number one is, once you create this ad, and let's say you are saying, hey, check out these amazing single stories, and that's the narrative of the topic, right? Of the copy. Then you allow the algorithm to do its thing, because as people are attracted to it, Facebook just finds more of the like kind. So you don't have to worry about it finding those people. It does it for you. That's number one. Number two is, when you're looking at deciding where to market, because you don't know what age demographic, what age is using what. I'm going to show you something here that I pulled out.
Wait, I want to give this a plug.
Oh, what is it? Show it.
Come on, hold on. Let me stop this blur background thing to make that go away.
Oh, I like that.
That's right here. So if you're stumped on what to say in your descriptions, what to say in your ads, get yourself this book. It's what I love about it: big margins, big spaces. So it looks like a thick book, but it's really not that thick. It's a quick read, lots of pictures. Look, even stick figures. So my kind of book. Figures. But it's seriously, if you're stumped on what to say, how to say it, it's called Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. Everyone can use the power of words to get more clicks, sales, profits, no matter what you sell or who you sell it to.
All right, I'm going to grab the link right now and I'll drop it into the chat, and then we will. Where'd the chat go? There's the chat.
Great book.
All right, and I'll throw it into the Facebook community as well. Give me a sec. All right, and then what I wanted to say is, in regards to that, when we're looking at the demographics of where people are based on just social media, here's one stat I found. I'll drop this link. It's by PEW Research, Pew Research. You can see the majority of 18 to 29-year-olds say they use Instagram or Snapchat, right? So in Command, or if you're just using Facebook on the back end of an ads manager, then you think about where you want to target, right? Obviously, Facebook has the older users, right? And if you're just doing first-time home buyers, like Jeff, you showed that great chart, first-time home buyers, right? If I'm just targeting those, and it may be the best idea to do, because if it just says buying your first home, boom, send it all to Instagram, right? So I think that goes back to what D-Rock is saying. Hey, look, just split your content and talk to the right people. They'll appreciate it more.
Well, and so you make a great point in that. So if I'm doing first-time home buyer education stuff, I'm probably going to create Instagram videos, and advertise those through command, and put it through there. And so I could do more of that sort of content creation. But if I'm talking about now, if I want to do, again, kind of like if I want to go the seller route, it's amazing to me how many homeowners know nothing about selling their home and purchasing again, that process. They think that they have to sell, be homeless, and then go buy something else. They think there has to be this gap, or they don't quite understand, can I really sell my home and then go buy another one? And what does that look like? What's that process look like? And we look at it like, oh, well, duh, we do it all the time. The consumer doesn't know.
Yeah.
The consumer has no idea. And because the consumer has no idea, what kind of companies are eating our lunch? We got OfferPad, Zillow's offers, and all these guys saying, hey, don't worry about all that. We'll take care of it for you. And they're charging our commissions. They're charging all that stuff. So the homeowner isn't really netting anything better. As a matter of fact, they'll net more on the open market. We've done a really bad job of educating the consumer. And so we're letting an app, we're letting some other technology company eat our lunch because we're not doing the education they are. They're just better educators to the consumer than we are.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, dude, look at the narrative that Zillow has. Zillow's pretty much telling the consumer, hey, the real estate world is broken. It's really hard to buy a home. We're going to simplify it for you, right? That's the narrative they hear. So they need to start changing that up.
Because they're doing a tremendous job of educating the consumer and saying, here's this big pain point, right? And that's how most product advertising work is. Here's a pain point. Here's how I can solve it, right? And so that's all they're saying. You got this itch, take this pill, right?
That's true.
I don't know what kind of itches you have, but if you got this itch, take this pill.
So true. I didn't think about it that way, and you're so right.
So it's all about just us saying, hey, you have this problem, here's how it's solved. And so I think if we could become better educators to our audience, our potential audience, that's where we can really start to separate ourselves out. So when we get into, let's get into, okay, we understand all that now, we got all that. How do we put this new knowledge into action? And I would say, one of the first things I would need to do is find out, let's just say Glendale, okay? Because for whatever reason, it's stuck in my head.
Pam from Glendale.
So we come in here. So you go to the consumer-facing part of your website, and we say, okay, we're in Glendale, and we're going to go to for sale. We say, okay, we want to show everything that's active. All right. Price point, we'll kind of leave that alone right now, and we'll say, okay, we want to try to find people who are looking to downsize, let's say, but not downsize as far as home size. Because let me tell you a little secret. If you go to places like Del Webb, so Del Webb is owned by Pulte, and they are go into the active adult communities. And these are, new home builders, and these guys they do so much research and so much stuff in here. If you go in here and you look at what kind of homes are for sale in these communities, these are not small homes. These are 2 to 3 bedroom homes that are usually a couple thousand square feet. Okay, so kind of go in to look at this, and there's this common misconception that, if I'm downsizing means a smaller house. And most of these people, if your grandma and grandpa, they probably got a house full of stuff. It would probably bring them a ton of anxiety to have to get rid of all this stuff, right? They spent their whole life collecting all this. They don't want to go from, a 2,500 square foot house to, a 1,500 square foot house. So downsizing may be the wrong vocabulary to use. So we'll say we'll go to a single house, and let's just say we go 2 bedroom, 2 bath is kind of our minimum, and then we say more, and we want to go into single story stuff. And so we go into here and we start looking. The other more filters. Single story. And we can say pull. All right. So we can go in and we can start to say, okay, where are some of this stuff that's going through? Once we figure out here is our general area, these are our homes, we can grab this whole link. Okay, so we can grab this whole link here, copy it, and then we can go into our command.
By the way, this is recorded. If you're watching it, you can slow it down, pause it, and watch it later. It'll be on our YouTube channel.
Also, I'm going to put in here, if you're a command user, which I'm assuming you are, go ahead and bookmark this answers.kw.com. And I'm just going to type in here Facebook. And you can see configure Facebook ad campaign. There's all this stuff in here. You just type in Facebook, and this will walk you through step by step how to do all this stuff. So go into answers.kw.com. I'm going to go ahead and just put this campaigns one here. So this is the whole campaigns applet. I'm going to put this in the chat.
It's got to be my favorite website, buddy.
You know, it's one of those things where everybody's got, you don't have to be super smart. You just got to know where to find the answers. Okay. And so, you know, that's who I am. So if I go into campaigns, that's the megaphone. So campaigns is where we're going to go to spend money to make money. Thanks, David.
I wasn't going to say anything. I laughed.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to create a new campaign, and we're going to do a social ad. And so here we're going to advertise a listing, and or we can actually say, let's go to attract listings. So we're going to tell command is going to use some preset stuff in here. So we want to attract listings. So we're going to call this, let's just say move up buyer. Okay. And now again, this is where we can say, okay, do we want to go Instagram? Do we want to go Facebook? You could do both. Or if you're searching a specific type of demographic, I would agree with you that generally the older group of people are more on Facebook than necessarily are on Instagram, though this Instagram crowd is starting to get more. And you know the reason why my in-laws and parents are on Instagram? The only reason why they're on Instagram is so they can see a picture of the grandkids.
No, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
So they're on there. They are on here, but maybe not as big as active users. So I'll just go ahead and just run both just for the sake of showing this. So let's say set up this campaign. And so now if I had a specific listing, I could say, let's add a listing, but we're not doing a specific listing. Now you'll see here where inside a command, we'll go ahead and show some suggestions, and you can use these suggestions if you want. But in this specific case, we're really wanting to create ad copy that's talking about, you know, are you thinking about selling your 2-story home and going and upgrading to a 1-story home? Because when I say downsize, what does downsize mean to you? Does it carry a negative connotation or a positive connotation? It's good and Louise. Positive
Connotation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for teaching me English. I appreciate it.
I do this once a day. We're good.
Right. So it's something that's either, you know, it's more positive to say we want to go up. We don't want to go down. Downsizing has this negative meaning behind it. And so just think about it. And that's what that this book here about the copywriting secrets and stuff like that. You can learn a lot from those kind of things. So I want my ad to be extremely positive sounding. Grandma and grandpa don't want to move out of their house to downsize or do something that's negative. Or people just in general don't want to look at that sort of thing. So we'll want to say something that's talking about this. And in the headline, when we say, so we could say stuff like thinking of buying a single story home. We want to, the whole point of Facebook and Instagram ads is to stop the scroll, stop people from scrolling and looking at that stuff. So you'll fill in these different parts with copy that is most relevant to you and to your market. Now, in the same thing in your main copy, maybe this is where I would say something to the effect of, now because we're going into a larger group, because if we're going to like a 15-mile or a 35-mile, so then, especially since we're in LA, we're probably going to use some general, broader geographic terms, right? Okay. So then I would probably just use Los Angeles. Right, so I'm going to probably use some more broader terminology. Now, if I was narrowing it down into like 15-mile radiuses, then I could probably use a little bit more micro things. I could also, if I was going to do, well, let's just keep going here for a second. So I go into add media, then I can add images. Now, when I'm doing these images, you can only do images. You only share images of images that I have the rights to. Okay, so I could go inside the design library and create some designs inside the design library that showcase what I'm trying to say. Or I can go and I could take pictures of the communities that I want to highlight. And this, so if I'm doing an ad for, let's say, single story homes in Glendale, I would probably create my ad to have a picture that I take of some single story homes in Glendale, some really nice front yards, things like that, where I can showcase, say, hey, this is like a common, or this is like what a typical street in Glendale looks like with the single story homes. I'm going to take some pictures of things that are going to be most important to these groups of people. So shopping centers or things like that. Yep. Or better, even better, is a video tour of the area. So if I do a video tour of that, something that's like less than 60 seconds, promoting, saying, here, so you're Malibu, right? So I could say, here's the top 5 reasons you should sell your home and buy a single story home in Malibu.
Yeah.
Because we've got this medical facility, it's in the center of town. We've got this, you've got a Whole Foods, we've got this, we've got Trader Joe's, we've got this and that, and you could showcase the benefits of that particular community. Okay. So, and we all know when we're scrolling, if you're scrolling and scrolling through Facebook, do you stop more on an image or do you stop more on a video? It's definitely much more video, because most of us, we get stuck on like reels, right? And the Facebook reels, the Instagram reels, and video. So even if you weren't putting yourself on the camera, although you should, just create a video of your community, of the reasons why people should move to this group of so I would do a video for first-time home buyers and say, hey, if you're a first-time home buyer looking to move into Malibu, we have some great schools that rank, 7 out of 10, or this high school is an 8 out of 10 according to Great Schools ranking, or we've got 4 private schools, we've got this, we got that. There's great community parks. We have this, we have that. So showcase, highlight what the community has to be able to do that there.
That's a good point, dude. I like that.
So I can put this stuff inside a video. So video, I think, would be the best. Second best would be images. But if I create this video, then all I want to do is I want to send people, when I go to configuring this ad, I'm going to, make sure I got my Facebook page here, and I've got my Facebook lead gen. Now, where I'm going to send these people to is I'm showcasing. They're going to watch my video. They're going to watch my video on the Instagram ad. Okay, so they're watching my video on the Instagram ad. But when they click on learn more, where they're going to go to is that my command website of the homes that I'm talking about in the video. So if I'm talking about homes with a pool, in the Glendale area, then I better send them this link that's to homes with a pool in the Glendale area. Does that make sense?
Dude, I like that a lot. And, just a side note, because I know it'll help some people that are watching in. If you're trying to figure out what your messaging should be, besides going through the process that Jeff took you through at the beginning, one of the simplest things you can do is I'm going to just take you through it really quick. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to take you to Google. Let me just go here and I'm going to just type in, what did people buy? Buying a home, just buying a home for the first time. Let's just type that. All right. You go scroll right here and Google just added this recently to almost every search. You see where it says people also ask. Now you have topics, pretty much headlines that you can use for creating copy. How much money do you need to buy a house for the first time, right? What qualifies someone as a first-time home buyer? How hard is it to buy a house for the first time? This is how easy it's gotten. You just have to
Right. So do the same search for how do I sell my home? Right, because we all want seller leads, right? Now may be the best time to cut your teeth as being a home selling agent because the homes almost sell themselves.
Here you go. Look at the first one. How can I sell my house quickly? What paperwork do I need to sell my house myself? What should I do to my house before I sell it? And how can I sell without a realtor? Dude, that would be a great video. Buy a realtor.
Well, look at that. 50% of the questions that people are asking are how do I sell it myself? They don't want to pay the commission. Yeah. But that's because they don't understand the process. They don't understand the value proposition, or they don't think that there's a value for it. So again, that goes back to, I think, where we're doing a poor job of educating the consumer on what it is that we do and why they need us. So I would not be afraid. I mean, you're just showing it right there in Google. Google is telling us 50% of the people out there, based on just that simple, again, not scientific, just kind of look at this, but Google's serving up to you and saying, hey, Tristan, 50% of people are asking the question, how the heck do I do this without a realtor?
Yeah.
Because they don't see the value of it, right? So if I can go in, I could say, hey, here's how you do this without a realtor, but here's the reasons, here's the one reason, or here's the one way you can do it without, but here's the top 10 reasons why you don't want to go that route. And here's the value proposition I give you. So you see the problem as money. Okay, so if the problem is money for you, let me give you the prescription for money and give you the stats on how that works. And then now here's the other 9 reasons why you want to hire a professional to do this for you. Does that make sense?
Dude, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so when we're talking about, as far as just the ad stuff goes, I mean, again, you can go inside the answers article and you can do that, but that's really, we just want to send people where they're going to go. And then now, if you wanted to get kind of a little bit more granular, you can use custom settings. So let's say you really want to make sure that you're targeting a home owner. I can use custom settings. Like, so, okay, I'm going to do my ad within a certain, mile radius of a particular city. So again, we saw that 35 miles was a big one, but it was an average of 15. So let's just say, you know what? I really don't want to drive 30 miles because 30 miles in LA is 2 hours. Don't want to do it. Okay, so if you don't want to drive 2 hours for $20,000 in commission, that's your business choice. But I could say add interest, and I could search in here. Now it'll show you once, you can dig through here, but you can also look at for sell by owner.
Okay.
So we just talked about 50% of the people out there are looking for, how do I sell my house without an agent? So do you think it'd be beneficial to run an ad talking about the benefit, of a how-to video on how to sell your house for sell by owner?
Hell yeah, dude. That would be awesome. I think, you know what? I think I might do a video on that. That's a really good one. I'm just going to outline all of those things that I think are a benefit and then show how using a real estate can do even better.
Right. See, so we have an audience size here that are on Facebook within a 20-mile radius of my area. So I'm picking up San Francisco, I'm picking up Tahoe, and so those different areas. But so I've got an audience size of roughly almost 3 million people that are interested in selling their house by owner. That's a big number. Okay. And so I'm gonna go ahead and click that one. And then another one, if you just type in like home equity, there's another one. So if I type in home, we're gonna start, let's see, equity. I want to target people who home equity, a home equity loan, and a home equity line of credit. Now, why would I want to target people who are looking for home equity loans or home equity lines of credit? There's a whole TV show around this called Love It or List It, right? So there's a whole show about, hey, do I want to stay here or do I want to sell it and go somewhere else? And so I want to talk about those points. So I could do a home seller ad instead of just saying, hey, give me your information. I'm going to educate the consumer. So I'm going to run, you can even run a pre-recorded webinar. Because Tristan, so you're good at this. Maybe you can show us how or what tools we could do for a pre-recorded webinar. You don't even necessarily have to do a pre-recorded webinar. You could do this as an unlisted YouTube video, right? Or you can just do it as a regular listed YouTube video. It doesn't matter. But I could do a webinar that's just me talking, going through this whole thing, screen recorded on Zoom. So everybody has Zoom. I can record Zoom, save it to my computer, right? And then upload that as a YouTube video. Then I can go and I can say, okay, hey, let's go target everybody that's interested in home equity line of credit, home equity loan, just these 3 demographics. And I'm going to create this whole 30-minute educational video on whether to get a home equity loan and fix your home or sell it and move on to next. And I can go through the whole process of the home selling process, selling your home to buy another one. What are some of the pain points? How do I, as your local area expert, solve those problems? And so I could definitely go through those and talk through that. But because I now know, okay, I can specifically target you for these things. Now I can go through that. Now, who do you think is a great person to sit on there and talk to do this video? Like if you're afraid to do a video by yourself, who is somebody that I can partner with to do this video, Tristan? Who would you think would be the #1 person?
A lender.
There you go. Right? So do you think your lender would love to do some screen time with you and talk about, a home equity loan or home equity line of credit? And do you think that maybe your lender would help in helping to offset some of your advertising expense a little bit? Maybe.
Hell yes.
So I can go and I can say this. So now that I have these different things here, I can know exactly who I'm sending these video ads to, and tailor that to it. I just got to make sure that when I'm creating this this content and I'm creating this targeting, that where I'm sending them to matches. So if I'm going to say, hey, I've got this great so again, we go back to like what you're talking about with D-Rock, right? So I've got this whole video on YouTube about the home equity, whether to list it or to sell it. Or to renovate it or to list it. And I've got this whole video on all that. I should probably do a short intro video for the ad. So like a less than 30-second video on say, hey, click here, and you're going to be taken to a 30-minute video where I'm going to go through in depth on the process of selling your home, what to do with your equity, how all this works, blah, 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 walking through that whole process, right? So I'm going to just do a video and I'm going to mention the cities in which I'm targeting.
I like that.
That's what you're going through. You're saying, okay, hey, if you're a Malibu homeowner, you need to listen because I got this, and I got this, and I got this. And we're going to walk through this. Just click this video and it'll take you straight to my YouTube video.
I like that, bro.
So you can do this. And then now, again, if this is all just the regular stuff, go in here and say, hey, how long do I want to run this and send it? But that would be, I think, now, again, I don't think it's necessarily anything earth shattering. I think the biggest secret, it's not necessarily really the digging into that stuff. It's who is my audience? I can't just walk into a room and start talking about something that nobody cares about inside that room. Right?
That's right, man. I agree with you. I think what you just showed, and I'm glad we started with that whole thing, is this whole process that you have to think about before creating these ads, because then we start hearing things like my ads aren't producing any leads, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's very important. All right, dude, what do you want to talk about next week? Maybe we should ask David too. David, what the hell should we talk about next week?
My brain is empty at this point, bro.
D&D. I'm in. We got a question from Michelle, man. It says, question of an issue I'm running into. If we run an ad on command, isn't it true we can't retarget?
So that's a great question. You can retarget to your database. So when you go inside a command, you can choose to target. I'll show you here. When you're picking your audience, I can. No, where is it, Jeff? Come on. Here we go. Target my database. So I can target the database based on a particular label. So I can go in and I can say, okay, so if you have, so like, let's say this. Say you're running this ad, and you're running this ad for home equity stuff, okay, and it's coming through. I'm gonna want to apply the label called, like FB for Facebook, HELOC, HELOC, so home equity line of credit. So I can say FB. So if I have an FB HELOC tag, then I can say, hey, run this series of ads target specifically to just those people with that tag. So then let's say we run through, we get 100 leads in the next 2 months, and we've only been able to talk to a couple of them. Well, then what I can do is I can run my Facebook ads targeting to that specific people who have that tag, and say, now go through and let's run some more educational style videos of building trust, building rapport with those people. Not so much, hey, register, because they've already registered. I just want to run some more educational things to them. And I would also think about when somebody's registering, looking for education, I'm going to want to make sure that my smart plan isn't all about, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. I want to make sure it's education based.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So if somebody's registering, if you want people to turn off or unsubscribe super fast, just keep hitting them with buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. Right?
True.
But especially if I'm running educational ads and to educate these home sellers, I darn well better make sure that what I'm giving them is education filled. Now, speaking of D-Rock and Gary Vee, then of course I'm going to grab, my jab, 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 right hook book, right? And so I'm going to say jab, jab. So item of value, item of value, item of value. Oh, by the way, are you thinking about selling in the next, 90 days? Nope, no problem. Item of value, item of value, item of value. Are you thinking about buying or selling in the next 90 days?
I like that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude. I love it. All right. Besides D&D, David, what the hell are we going to talk about next week?
Smart views and filters.
He says the power of smart views and filters. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Did we answer that, Michelle? I want to make sure we got that one. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Is that crochet or crocket?
I would say it's crochet, but Michelle said yes. Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, great.
Crochet.
See, there we go. Very nice.
I like how you pronounce that, Michelle. Thank you. All right, so let's just go with smart views and filters. Maybe we'll bring in David.
Sounds great, brother.
All right, David, get ready. Put your big boy pants on. Jeff Gibbs, new place. You know what? I'm going to send you a link that Jeff and I did a video on where to start. So I'm going to just drop that in here. Give me a second before we leave.
But the other thing, again, I'll put this link in here. If you really are needs commands, any of that kind of stuff, bookmark this page here. I'm going to go in here to copy answers.kw.com. If you click on, there's a big button there that says commands, and you can go right to the beginning, and there's anything and everything that you're looking for. At the beginning of each one of those is a get started on that particular applet. Okay, so you can go through and say, okay, I know nothing about contacts. There's a whole video on getting started in contacts, all that sort of thing. So yeah, you can watch that YouTube video. And then also Answers is going to be your best friend if you get stuck anywhere.
Perfect, dude. Thank you for joining us, everyone. This is recorded. I put up the link of where you can find it tomorrow. Jeff, you rock. And we have David next week, so that should be fun. Get ready.
I may be sick next week.
Get your D&D manual, your D&D Monsters manual out, because we're going to be going over page 42.
Yeah, I'm going to be sick next week.
See you, everybody. Bye, Pam.